Or if you like me and you read the whole Bible, not the sermon. And here in the beginning, something very similar happened. God speaks 10 times. God speaks 10 times in creation. Then he says 10 plagues to Egypt to reverse the creation and bring them back to nothing. Then gives out 10 speeches again in Mount Sinai to confirm and consummate their creation as a nation of people, which symbolizes their creation as the new Adam and Eve. Shalom, shalom. I am Brother Nicodemus O. Smith. Welcome back to the Slow Genesis Walkthrough, the Walkabout series, only on the Study the Bible, not the Sermon TV. Now, this is your first time here. Welcome to where we have come to understand strange Bible stories. And if you move by something you see, hear, or read while you're here, please smash the like button, hit subscribe, and then slide on our notifications bell. And if you're a regular here, please drop me a comment so I can shout you out on the next joint. 100. Now today, off the bat, this is going to be part 1 of a 3-part series called Repetition. Today's episode is titled Repetition 10 times in 6 days. Repetition because the Bible sometimes sounds needlessly repetitive. This isn't for no reason. It's always strategic. So let's kick off the repetition series with the most repetitive word or most repeated word in Genesis chapter 1. Perhaps it'll be significant to us Christians listening in. Now check it out on the screen. I got highlighted the verses with the verb said highlighted. Right? Verse 3 says, and God said, let there be light. Verse 6 says, God said, let there be a firmament. Verse 9, and God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place and let the dry land appear. And it was so. Verse 11, and God said, let the earth bring forth grass and the fruit tree, whose seed is in itself upon the earth. Verse 14, and God said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven, so we can know when the Passover is and the Day of Atonement is coming. Verse 20, and God said, let the waters bring forth abundantly the moving creatures. And he made the whales also, and the birds that fly in the firmament. Verse 22, and God said, God blessed them, saying, be fruitful and multiply and fill the waters. Verse 24, and God said, let the earth bring forth the living creature, cattle and creeping thing and the beasts of the earth. And of course it was so. Verse 26, and God said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish and the fowl and the cattle and the creeping thing. Verse 29, and God said, behold, I gave you all the green herbs on the face of the whole earth, and the trees with the fruit and the seed inside of it. For you, that's your meat, that's your food. Now, I think it's worth our time to take some days to meditate on the fact that at Mount Sinai, God gave us 10 commandments. Those 10 sum up our mission and duty. They are so central to your lifestyle, even if you only believe in the Old Testament or only do the New Testament, or if you like me and you read the whole Bible, not the sermon. And here in the beginning, something very similar happened. God speaks 10 times. Coincidence, you think? Not to forget the 10 plagues in Egypt, when, like I've been saying for the last couple years, the God of Israel took the land of Egypt from a nation compared to the Garden of Eden backwards, all the way back to Genesis chapter 1, verse 2. And here, God speaks 10 times in creation. Then he says 10 plagues to Egypt to reverse the creation and bring them back to nothing. Then gives out 10 speeches again in Mount Sinai to confirm and consummate their creation as a nation of people, which symbolizes their creation as the new Adam and Eve. And if y'all will allow me to geek out for just a minute here, the 10 times he speaks isn't once per day, which would only give you 6 anyway. The Most High speaks 1 time on day 1, 2, 4, and 5. But on day 3 and 6, he has more than one thing to create. And I slow us down here because this is an extremely important tool for Bible study. to the scripture to be able to read and understand like a prophet of God, like an apostle of God, rather than like an American. Paying attention to repeated words and paying attention to when and where these things are repeated is the most simple tool for discerning the design of the story. For example, if you've ever been reading the story and it's like, man, this is the fourth time they done said the same thing. Like, it's super redundant. Maybe it's a mistake. No, it's only redundant to our Western civilization communication style. Redundancy is not respected in our normal conversation or discord. Neither is it appreciated in our literature. It's actually frowned upon, something we should run away from. But to ancient authors in ancient times and ancient texts and ancient literature, it is redundancy and repetition is one of the most fundamental tools there is in your writer's tool bag. So what seems redundant to us is actually very meaningful in a design kind of way. They are design pattern in the introduction. If the Bible is a building, then this repetition in chapter 1 is like the design pattern of the front door, giving you a hint that design and symmetry and order is of the utmost importance in this book. Got these 10 times, so it's very clear who the main actor is. It's also clear that unlike how Babylonian and Egyptian and Mesopotamian imagine creation, where their god Baal or Shemosh had to go to war with the other spiritual being in order to bring the world created and man created, they had to win a war. They had to tame the water or the sea monsters in the water. Here, no ops, no oppositions, no opponents. He does have natural obstacles, but no formal opposition. Here, the repetition tells anybody who is a polytheist that the only God, the only one Elohim, the only factor here, and there's no rival. Elohim is pictured like a king with a banquet. He's setting it all out. You know what I'm saying? And he like, here, let the games begin. That's how he do stuff. Let the earth bring forth and let there be light. Like the king say, let the games begin. Let the first course meal begin. Our God is in such control that his creation is almost like a banquet. He simply bends the waters to his will after verse 2. No battle, no pushback, just what I said, and then it happens. Doesn't mean that there's only one spiritual being, but rather that there's only one spiritual being that is responsible for the creation of all things, which is again why this word written like this is so big for ancient times, because it puts forth the idea that our God is almighty. Lastly, we want to express the point God said is a key word or a key term or a key phrase. Now that the phrase has been introduced, as we move on in the scriptures, it doesn't have to specifically say, and then God said, for us to be connected back here. It could just say, thus saith the Lord, or some other synonym that means the same thing as God spoke. Again, as of the 10 commandments, it says it's just a little bit differently, like God spake all these words and said. And even further, the idea can be introduced with or without any of the actual words from the first original term. And here in the beginning, something very similar happens. He speaks 10 times. You think it's a coincidence? I think not. Meditate on those facts this week and slide on us next week. We're going to jump back into the first chapter of the Bible and peel back another layer of the onion. You know what I'm saying? But for right now, we up.